Hey everyone, this is Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I am here to talk about the Scorpio full moon, which is actually past. The moon is now in Sagittarius, but it's still at 99%. And in social media years, I am a lifetime behind because we've had the full moon, which means everyone's already putting out videos about the new moon coming up in Gemini. But I still thought this was an important video to make because it's about the death and dying process and the idea of us as humans and our attachments and how we can navigate through this, especially at this time when there has been so much grief in the world, and there still is a lot of grief in the world and in the planet, and how we recognize and almost love these attachments and love these feelings in order to be okay with letting them go. So, I myself on the 7th had to put my dog down. And, when I'm doing these things, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to make a video at the full moon's coming up this weekend. It's Mother's Day, so I got to do this stuff. But then it just became, clear that this is what was happening, and this is what I needed to do. And so putting my dog and helping him transition. And I want to say this too. I had the help of my friend Heidi Kansas, who lives here in New Orleans, and she's a death doula, and that made all the difference in the world. So, if you guys don't know Heidi, I'll put some links to her in the bottom, but or if you guys have access to a death doula, it really does help a lot when dealing with these extremely tough issues. So I digress. So anyway, it had come to the end of Thomas's time on this planet, and it was time for him to go over the Rainbow Bridge. So, we took him in, and then that Tuesday, no, excuse me, that was a Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Hold on, let me look at the calendar. Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I had clients and work already scheduled those days. And so um, I didn't cancel. I still showed up, and it was a time where I had to call on my tools, work with spirit, work with angels, just work with things that I knew that are around. But at the same time, I had to actively grieve. I'm actively grieving right now. Actually, I'm still in that, mourning period. And it was this idea where these thoughts and emotions would come in. This is the first time in probably over 20 years I do not have any animals in my house. I usually had a dog or a cat or a combination. Usually I had cats and dogs at the same time. And so this is the first time in over 20 years I don't have that in my house. And it was becoming Mother's Day, and it hit me like, oh my God, I'm not a dog mom anymore, or I'm not a cat mom anymore. And I just, started crying because it was who I was for over 20 years. And so it got me thinking, and just as moving through the grieving process, where it's just kind of fine, and then waves of grief would come and then they would go. But working with that and really feeling into my body and really feeling into where it was kind of holding some stress, where it was kind of holding some fear. Um, if there was other fears coming up, or if my mind was trying to make a story to create something that wasn't there. And then so yesterday, which was Monday, which was the full moon, I was like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna make a video. And that was the first day where I didn't have anything scheduled. And so you guys, I just like kind of slept all day. I did go to the beach, and the moon surprised me with this beautiful rising over the Gulf of Mexico. So I posted that as well. My camera's kind of a piece of shit, but um, and it might have got a little shaky some places. But if you can watch it, it's really beautiful. It started out it was just this beautiful orange color she was, and then she got to her golden self. So, but coming out of the waters, and when we talk with Scorpio and we think of Scorpio, it is always associated with death, and transformation and transmutation. And it was really important for me to come on and share this idea that when the feelings of being alone came up, and how that felt in my body, to really understand that this is how it feels. At the same time, it's not it's not the forever reality, right? It's not the forever um feeling that's going to be with me in my heart, right? It's just like this one feeling coming up, and being able to kind of have that emotional intelligence to talk to it, talk with it, and then talk through it and not shame it or try to make it go away or try to fill so much of my time up that I'm not processing emotions, because they're going to be here no matter what. So taking this time, understanding that there's going to be these emotions, but also understanding, when people say things like, are you going to get another pet soon? And people are like, oh, I'm going to take some time. And I'm not looking forward to get another pet anytime soon. And it's not because of this deep sadness and the loss that I feel. It's because I'm at another point in my life, and I would like to do more traveling. And also being okay with that decision, also being okay with the idea of an old life, or past life, as we like to use, but the previous way has changed. It's transformed. It is going to be something new, and it isn't the loss of an old life. It is this idea of moving forward or seeing what else there is to offer. And we can hold both of those feelings at the same time, right? We can be happy and sad at the same time. And it's this idea that we can move into with this moon, right, in Scorpio, understanding the loss of how we see things or perceiving it as a loss, and at the same time, the newness coming in. And this is kind of hard to talk about, because we see things as a loss or not being here anymore or going away forever. And um, in it's part of this idea, I think, of duality. It is this part, of this idea of yin and yang, but the idea, I think, more of the yin and yang, and I would like to kind of try to talk us moving into the more of this idea, is that we have both at the same time, right? We have day and night at the same time. Right now it's day, somewhere on the other side of the world it's night. So try to get us to move through this idea of loss and fear, um, and kind of sit with this idea and how we can transform this, because we want to be able to experience the world, even amongst the idea of loss, even amongst this idea of fear, even amongst this idea of attachment, at the time, and understanding that the way that we put in a cord of attachment, or we allow people to attach to us, and how we can unattach those cords and hand them over or give them to the universe, isn't this idea of loss, but it's an idea of allowing something to move in another sense and allowing something new to come in as well. I hope this is making sense in an energetic sort of way. And I think sometimes too, when talking about this, it does seem so simple. Um, and yet at the same time, it seems kind of complicated. And it becomes complicated when I try to talk about it in the, I guess the idea of the 3D, that 3D being, because, I mean, like right now, my dog is not here. So I get like he is physically not here. And that does make me sad. But at the same time, it was really, and I think it was his little spirit coming in and saying, it's time for you to go adventure. It's time for you to have, time to do other things and not to see it as a loss, but just a movement into something else, something new, and not to be scared to try on a new hat or try on a new coat, what they say. And even for some of us, try on a new life. Like this is the time. Um, Scorpio with this full moon, Scorpio at its highest self is about the present. It's about being extremely present. When you can be extremely present with your feelings, that is how you move things forward. When we are thinking about the 90s, that is not moving anything forward. That is literally keeping us stuck in how we were and how we felt in the 1990s. It is important for us to understand how we think and how we feel in 2025 on this day at this time. And if there's something not allowing us to process how we feel right now, or something that's always there, distracting us, social media, um, the news, then we need to be aware of that in order so we can process exactly how we feel at this time. And then we can realize if something's running in the background, if something that did happen in the 90s or some other time is running in the background that is not allowing us to feel exactly what we need to feel in the present time. Maybe it is grief, that needs to be processed. Maybe it is a fear. Maybe it is a trauma. But this is the time for us to ask ourselves, am I still underneath that? Am I still kind of navigating my life from those things? And it's totally okay if you say yes. It's like, um, I I couldn't do a video yesterday. I was too tired, so I'm doing one today. Am I, navigating the rest of the week depending on how I feel more than last week? Yes, because I was just kind of in it to win it. But it's still this idea of being present and how to deal with grief. And then if it's kicking something up from years ago, to be like, okay, is this the same thing? Can I apply this to that situation? Do I need to get to, talk to a therapist? Do I need to go to acupuncture? How can I help take care of myself in this time? And that is all very important being in this Taurus season because Taurus wants us to be connected to our feelings. Taurus wants us to be grounded. Taurus is also about keeping things practical and keeping things simple. So when we're in that, and we still are because the moon's still at 99%, so the moon is still reflecting the sun. Taurus, Scorpio axes, right? It's about being present and keeping things simple. Being present, keeping things practical. That is the way that we move things quicker. That is the way we manifest quicker. That is the way we um, birth things quicker in the sense of Scorpio being that idea of rebirth. Scorpio has like, I'm being facetious. Let's gonna say like 30 different symbols, but it's got a lot. I think it's more than five. With the last one, one being the scorpion, of course, but then that last one being the phoenix, right? Where it is that rebirth. And so it is this idea of rebirth, being present, going into the waters, letting the waters clear and clean what we no longer need, transmute those things, and then being able to have the courage to be rebirth in the present. And we need to think about this too as we move forward with what's happening in our world, what's happening in politics, what's happening, in our communities, that things are here to change and to be rebirthed and to you know, be stable to where we are now and what's available to us now. We can't keep living in the past. And I have been working, obviously I have clients, and working with them. And the big theme for the past couple weeks is really about getting people into the present, in the present moment, and not spiraling in some sort of anxiety that's not here yet. But and because when we start to spiral in that anxiety, it is going back to that fear of what am I going to lose? You know, this fear of well, I can't do that because if it doesn't work out. And I can tell you with my sweet little Thomas dog, when he was a stray and I found him and Francis together, and Francis transitioned a couple years ago. And when we got Thomas, he only had half a paw. And vet said, look, like Frances was a white boxer. She lived to be like almost 15 years. And Thomas was a little mutt with half a paw and hip problems. And he lived to be just about 16 years. But when I got them, they're like, this white boxer is probably only going to live like 8 years. And she blew past that. And Thomas, they said was going to have arthritis, and he did in his later years. Though you wouldn't have known it until I swear to God that last week is when it just really kicked in. Um, but I just said, okay, okay, I understand, but I'm gonna spend the best I can with them, you know, and make every moment count, which sounds more dramatic right now, right? Because I was living my life. So, but we were living our lives together, and um, but it was this idea that I couldn't let the fear of what could happen stop me, and being present as much as I could, and now to help things move forward. And I really want us to think about that. Um, these ideas of attachments and fear and see how we can sit with them and shake them and change them, change that perspective. Understand in this planet of duality, it could be just this idea of everything's happening at the same time. And, you know, making making space for ourselves, making space for others. And in that idea, yes, it is something isn't right next to us, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gone forever, right? The energy just switches and the energy just changes. And that's why there really is more than enough for everyone. There really is enough love. There really is enough abundance. There really is enough, you know, kindness in this world. And if you're not able to find that right now, or if you are in fear or um, a little bit riddled with anxiety, of course, always reach out to someone if you feel the need. It's why we have doctors and such. But it is this idea that we have to keep things in balance, and we can focus on that love. We can focus on let's see, the opposite of the anxiety. We can focus on the present, I guess. We can just come back to that. Um, see what is happening right now, and then how we can work through that. Because if you focus on the present and you work on the present, then that's what creates your future. That is how I work with earth signs, because earth signs want to be grounded. And when I work with water signs, I always tell them if you're starting to flood or feel too much in your emotions, then you have to see yourself as a stream going through the earth, because that is going to refocus you. Because water quenches your thirst, right? It soothes what needs to be in the present, but it is about this rebirth. It is about the idea of baptism, if you will, but the renewal. The renewal is always here. It's not lost and gone forever. Now we can put things and be like, I don't want to think about that ever again, and that's fine. I can transmute that. I don't want that to come back. I learned my lesson on that one. But we keep moving forward. We don't stop trying, or we don't stop learning. We don't stop showing up. And we sure as shit don't stop loving, right? Because, you know, I'm most likely going to have another animal before I die. Um, but I'm still going to hug dogs and give cats kisses, because cats love when you give them kisses. Um, and be kind and still move through this energy of grief until it reconciles itself and shows up in a different way. So I hope this was helpful. Um, and I hope it's helpful when these thoughts come in and you're like, oh my God, I'm not that anymore. Like, because our identity is tied to the way that we see ourselves. It's okay. It's okay to have that thought. It's okay to have those tears. It's okay to be like, oh no, now what do I do? And the idea is to stay present with that, love that, give it the space it needs in order to see where it will take you the more you stay present with it. Okay, friends, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys had a happy Mother's Day and I hope you guys had a really good full moon. The moon is in Sagittarius, so it is in that fire. Sagittarius always brings our spirits up. So I hope today is a little bubbly for you guys. As we, let's see, it's the 13th, we're in the middle of Taurus season, so I hope things are becoming stable. Keep things practical, keep things simple, and just focus on the present. Okay, till next time.